Hey everybody, this is Brother Mike coming at you from Worcester, Massachusetts. Want to welcome you back. Welcome all you folks that are familiar with the videos that I've produced, some of you subscribers out there, and some of you new people, welcome. Hope you tune in again. I want to give you a little bit of an update. It's been a long time since Brother Mike been on, and of course, you know, there's been some basic themes that I've covered in some of these videos. I mean, I started out with these videos just wanting to share with people some of the experiences that I've had in life, and of course I'm talking about the past. You know, I'm 63 years old now, and got a lot of water under the bridge, a lot of interesting stories to tell. But as of late, and when I say late, I mean probably about the past 8 months, you know, my focus has been on some issues that are current, you know, and somewhat compelling. I want to kind of bring you up to date on some of those things. They've concluded, you know, there's a couple of matters that have concluded. We have the whole Integral Resources debacle that I've broadcasted on 2 times. And we also have this matter of my interaction with the Worcester police, and there's 2 of those. You know, one is as a crime victim, and then the other one is as a quote-unquote criminal, you know. So I kind of want to bring you up to date on these things. You know, we'll go to the Integral Resources one first. You know, this is the fundraising organization that Brother Mike worked for a year, and discovered that they had been hoodwinking me, basically. You know, they had me raising funds for various charitable and political organizations, believing that 80% of the money was going to be going to the charity or the political organization, when in reality only 12% was going on to them, which really gave Brother Mike the ass, you know, and you know, led to this whole big matter, you know. Well, that's kind of done with, you know. I mean, that's all water under the bridge now. It's been over a year since I started working there, and no, it's been over a year since I stopped working there, you know. And funny, I kind of bumped into somebody I used to work with over there. He was a manager, a very nice guy. And, well, those people are falling on hard times, you know. But you know what? Some people fall on hard times because of stuff that they've done to themselves. You know, other people fall on hard times because, like as the Bible says, the afflictions of the righteous are many, you know. There's 2 different kind of hard times. You know, when you're a righteous person living in an unrighteous world, you know, you can expect to be persecuted, you know. And it says in the Bible, count it all joy, you know, when you're persecuted for righteousness' sake. Well, then there's this other kind of similar thing where, you know, you have all these problems, but it isn't because you're being persecuted for righteousness' sake. You're being reaping the rewards of your own actions. You know, the Bible always also teaches us that you know, you reap what you sow. You know, and what has happened to these people over at Integral Resources kind of falls under that category. You know, they have been reaping what they have sown. You know, they're having a hard time finding people to work over there because, you know, their original intent apparently was to cycle through as many people in the Worcester area as they possibly could. You know, they thought they had an unending supply of people that they can put in those seats. Well, you know, now they've identified themselves to the community as a not so nice place to work, and people just ain't showing up no more, you know. And so they're having a hard time getting people in the seats to execute the function. but they've always had a problem with management over there. They pretty arrogant types. A lot of them taking advantage of the people that are in their employ. And the gentleman that ultimately terminated my employment over there, I thought he kind of handled it in a pretty good way. He was, had all the signs of being a rookie at handling the matter that I brought to their attention, but this guy, he kind of self-terminated. Apparently, the scuttlebutt is that, he came up missing. This is basically the CEO of the Worcester office, Guy comes up missing. His wife is a little bit concerned because she hasn't seen him in a while. They haven't seen him in a while. And I guess a little bit of a search party went out, trying to find out where this guy is. Well, they found him holed up in a hotel somewhere with a bunch of drugs and a woman, probably a girl, employee of IRI, so, he kind of got a little bit of a taste of his own medicine. They terminated his employment, and now they don't have a CEO over there, Some of the other people have gone on, I guess it was a little bit of an insurrection over there, and this guy that got fired, he was on one camp, and some of the other management staff was on another camp. I guess there was a little disharmony in the upper ranks, and they had to let go of one guy that was fomenting a rebellion against this gentleman, and I'm not going to mention his name, but he's the guy that hired me initially. I thought he was a pretty good guy. He was always fair to me, But, hey, you get what you deserve, So these people have kind of shot themselves in the foot, And it isn't anything Brother Mike did. I know I didn't help by publishing these videos. In fact, the owner of the company basically pleaded with me to cease publishing these videos because of the impact that they were having on his operations. And I did, but it wasn't because he asked me to. It was just because I kind of ran out of stuff to say, you know what I mean? But, hey, did what I thought was the right thing to do, and they got their reward, So that kind of puts that matter to rest. Then we have that other matter, I published a video, the Worcester Police, a fiasco in the making, the Worcester Police in the courts, and, there's a couple more there, about this incident that I had at this place where I'm living, and I'm still living here, 2.5 years now. Never thought I'd be here this long, but, hey, been okay to me, you know what I mean? I come inside, I mind my own business. I'm not in the best neighborhood, but I get respect from my neighbors, and I come and go as I please without being molested, and the community has improved, to a certain extent, because the police are enforcing, some of these basic laws, that make your neighborhood a little bit more livable, like the open container laws. They're finally enforcing those, so we don't have people all up and down the street on the front doorsteps drinking all day long, and they're also enforcing some of these other fundamental laws that have made the place a little bit better. Kind of the people are a little bit more on the alert. When you don't have authority, you have chaos, so they have kind of ratcheted up the authority to a certain extent. Some of them have gone a little bit overboard. That's the subject of that second Worcester Police thing. But getting back to the first one, where the guy pulled the knife on me and all that, and I had such a difficult time getting the cooperation of the police and the court system and to prosecute him. That turned out, it was kind of funny the way that turned out, I mean, you're mad at first, because somebody pulls a knife on you, and, of course, nobody likes that kind of stuff, But knowing that this individual, had a lot of problems, with alcoholism and, not speaking English and probably poor education. You know, this guy had like the whole file drawer full of social problems. You know what I mean? He didn't need a whole lot more problems because he was really his own worst enemy. Well, you know, they have this thing in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that I wasn't even aware of, you know. They call it accord and satisfaction, you know. And what that means is that if you're a victim of a crime and the perpetrator of this crime now has the ability, rather than to go through the court system and suffer the penalties that the court may impose upon them, they may simply pay you a sum of money that's agreeable to you, and the matter is basically dropped. You know, and that was offered to me as an option for this guy, which I took because I says, you know, hey, guess what? You know, this guy's got enough problems, you know what I mean? He doesn't need a felony conviction on his hands that's going to put him in jail and probably doom him for the rest of his life, you know what I mean? And, you know, God wants mercy. He does not want sacrifice, you know? I mean, he was the last of the sacrifices. He leached all the glory out of sacrifice so that we may have mercy towards one another. And that's what I did. I had mercy on this guy, and I took the accord and satisfaction agreement, which was that he paid me $200 out of his meager Social Security, what they call a disability check, you know, that nut money that they give people, you know. Well, that's hard enough to live on that, let alone part with $200 of it, you know. So I figured that was punishment enough for the guy. And previously I had seen him, and, you know, one of the things that we have an obligation to do is to forgive those who trespass against us, right? You know, when the Lord taught his disciples how to pray, you know, part of what he taught them was to forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And I invoked that. You know, I saw the guy and walked up to him and I told him, hey man, I forgive you for what you did to me. And boy, you never saw a more sincere look of appreciation on somebody's face when he heard that from me. And in fact, the guy actually gave me a hug, you know, and I gave him a hug. You know, we kind of hugged each other, you know. And so we went from him trying to stab me at 1:30 in the morning, you know, over a cigarette, you know, to us hugging each other, you know. And I think that's a great conclusion, don't you? You know, and you know, I work with his attorney. Very nice guy, and you know, we got that whole matter taken care of, and I don't know if the guy learned a lesson from it. I hope he learned a lesson from it, you know, because my prayer has been that, you know, he sees that, hey man, this stuff just doesn't have a big future to it, you know what I mean? And maybe I need to kind of clean up my act. So, brother, if you're out there, and I don't think you are, you know, because I don't even watch television, you know. I hope you're not drinking like you were, because that's probably 90% of your problem, you know, is that you drink too much, you know. But God bless you, and I'm glad that we can get that problem resolved, you know. Well, moving along, you know, we had another issue with these Worcester police, and let me tell you, there's no shortage of issues with these guys. You know, you go on Google and type in Worcester police scandal, you know, and it's going to bring you to a couple of sites there where they kind of inventory everything that's been going on over there in the Worcester police. Well, hey, police departments all over America are kind of messing up, you know what I mean? Like I said in one of my videos, you know, more people in America die at the hands of the police than they do at the hands of terrorists. You know, we spend all this money on terrorism and intercepting people's telephone calls, emails, you know, everything except what's going on inside of your head. If they can get there, they can get there too, you know what I mean? And thank goodness for this gentleman, Mr. Snowden, you know, who kind of tipped us off about what was going on, so we can see the totality and the scope and breadth of of these intrusions, into our privacy on behalf of national security. But yeah, you go on that Google Worcester police scandal, and you're going to find a lot of monkey business goes on in the Worcester Police Department. A lot of brutality goes on in the Worcester Police Department. We had some more brutalizations around here, in my neighborhood, where, we're a poor neighborhood, and, people look at us with a certain degree of scorn, and I'm sure in some of these prosperous communities, they wish we'd just, vaporize, and just disappear. Well, we're not going to disappear. The poor are going to be with you forever, but we had one of my neighbors, young guy, Afghan war veteran, had a little trouble down there on South Main Street. Might have got himself in a little trouble, with some of these scalawags down there, with their dope peddling, and ended up getting chased into the building by 5 men, who were intent on changing his way of living. Well, he got a little bit of assistance from some of the residents, and, we were able to get those guys out of the building, and saved his skin. But he decided he's going to call 911. Well, what happened when Brother Mike called 911. The police came down and ended up brutalizing me and arresting me and filing a false report, and you wouldn't let me go upstairs and get a pair of shoes. I had to walk home from the police department at 2:30 in the morning in my bare feet. Being a diabetic, like I said, the last thing you want to do is expose your feet to injury, but this officer who, was representing the Worcester police at the time, a guy named Matthew Tivenin, he had seen some of these videos that I published about the Worcester police and didn't like them, and saw this as his opportunity to kind of get even, but he charged me with being a disorderly person and disturbing the peace, which is legal absurdity. And I'm going to do a video about disturbing the peace and being disorderly, because they like to charge people with these little crimes, that have no substance, trespassing, things of that nature. But getting back to the gentleman that called 911 in our building about 2 weeks after I had been assaulted, he called the police. Police came down, Afghan war veteran. Well, they didn't like the way he was talking to them, and, we have freedom of speech here. There's certain categories of speech which are considered protected speech. Might not be what everybody wants to hear, even obscenities, are protected speech, and they didn't like the way he was talking to them. Well, you know what they did to him? They fractured his wrist. I mean, broke the poor man's wrist, and putting the handcuffs on him, and arrested him for the same charges that they arrested me, being disorderly and disturbing the peace. It's kind of like a copy and paste thing. They don't like the way you talk. You're going to get this treatment from them, Well, he made the mistake of pleading guilty. I don't know if he had a prior conviction or if he had an open matter or, whatever the case may be. But what they do is they drag you down to the courthouse, and 9 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10, they offer you like a deal. If you plead guilty to this, we'll let the whole matter go. They want to put a jacket on you. They want to find you guilty of something if they possibly can. If you're vulnerable. You know what I mean? And this guy was vulnerable. So he pled guilty, I think it was to being disorderly or something, so that he could put the whole matter to rest. Well, what he did in the process of that, of course, was deny his right to be recompensed for the fracturing of his wrist. You know what I mean? So, yeah, he's out there walking around with a conviction, another conviction on him, and, recuperating from a fracture of the wrist. And I'm talking about, a severe fracture of the wrist that he's not going to get compensated for, But in my case, I went into the court and pled not guilty, obviously, because I hadn't done anything wrong. And I've got 2 witnesses that are willing to testify for me. They submitted affidavits about what they saw, and it was a 180-degree departure from what the police officer had put in his report. And in fact, he did file a false report, and they're still standing with me because they have you come to court on multiple occasions, So I pled not guilty. Then I had to go back, and when I went back to court, they wanted to dismiss the charges, which is a good thing because they knew that they had no likelihood of prevailing, But they also wanted me to pay $100 in court costs, And as a matter of principle, I told the judge, I said, Your Honor, I am not going to pay a dime to have a crazy police officer who doesn't like me availing myself of my freedom of speech come down to my house, brutalize me, falsely arrest me, falsely imprison me, publish a false report about, what happened, and it's going to cost me $100. I told him I am not going to rest until I have been 100% exculpated from this matter without having to pay a dime, because that's another gambit they have down there, where they got these crazy police running around arresting people for no reason at all, and they get to court and the court knows this, but rather than do anything about, this condition within the police department where they're basically harassing and persecuting, this is persecution, not prosecution, persecuting people in the community, they offer them an opportunity to go free, but it costs them money. I think this is reprehensible. I just think it's a total, I don't know, some kind of, okay, I know it costs money to have people run through the court system, but when they haven't done anything, and the only reason they're there is because some cop, decided to abuse his authority, I don't think people should have to pay money for that stuff, to get off of that stuff. And I wasn't going to pay any money. And so now, what I did is I filed a motion to dismiss, and this is where I got a lot of very interesting information about the elements of these crimes, disturbing the peace and being a disorderly person. Well, what I discovered in the course of my research is that there's no way that they're going to convict me, one, because when you're a disorderly person, being a disorderly person is not a victimless crime. They have to produce an actual crime victim. And in my case, there is no crime victim. There's no mention of a crime victim whatsoever. There is an allusion to 5 people across the street, who were so taken aback by my behavior that they ran inside their building, and then they're talking about 4 of my neighbors, were like, oh God, Mike's gone crazy. And they had to run away, and all this. Well, they didn't capture any names, I doubt the cop can even identify them, anybody in court, because, these people didn't even exist in reality. They were a figment of his imagination. He just put that stuff in there to justify, the arrest, with this allusion to a victim, but failed to capture any names, So here we are going to a jury trial, and he's not going to be able to produce anybody who is the actual victim of this alleged crime, and therefore it's just going to go by the wayside, and with this disturbing the peace, it's very interesting what the Commonwealth of Massachusetts has done, is they have modeled their disturbing the peace law after what they call the Model Penal Code. I think it's 225.2, section 252.2, and there's 3 definitions. One is for activity. It's all based on activity, and of course, fighting, tumultuous. They call it tumultuous behavior, and causing a dangerous condition, for no apparent social reason. Those are 2. Then there's a 3rd one in this Model Penal Code about speech, and how speech can, be disorderly person. Well, Massachusetts has not embraced that. Massachusetts has not embraced the third definition in the Model Penal Code dealing with speech, because there's a likelihood that protected speech would be cause for an arrest, and they didn't want to risk that, so they just simply did not embrace that. So in Massachusetts, the only way that you can be arrested for disturbing the peace has to be through an act, an action. And they can't show that in my case, because 90% of this police officer's report has to do with protected speech. If I counted the F word that he alleges that I used in his report, I counted them all up, I must have, according to him, I was out there throwing around the Effenheimer about 50 times. You know what I mean? Well, hey, not a word of obscenity came from the lips of Brother Mike, and my witnesses will bear that out. You know what I mean? But even if I had, according to this omission of that third element of the Model Penal Code that Massachusetts does not recognize, that's not even justification for an arrest. So they have no likelihood of prevailing, because even in their own report and in their own words and in their own synopsis of this event, they have not introduced anything that the law finds justifies the arrest. So obviously the guy was just trying to give me a hard time, trying to, get me into this situation that most people who find themselves in that situation will plead out or pay the $100. He never, I don't think, dreamed in his wildest imagination that I was gonna say no to a dismissal, And I filed a motion to dismiss with the court, and it was denied. But, I said to myself, if I was the judge, I would have probably denied the motion too, because, in this matter, somebody is telling a bodacious lie. It's either me and my two witnesses or this cop. One of these parts of this confrontation is a bold-faced liar, because they're like two ends of the spectrum, the stories, On the one hand, I'm this demonized maniac, running around attacking the police and telling them to go F themselves. And on the other hand, we've got a cop that's totally out of control, So if I was a judge, I kind of want to know which one of these people has the nerve, to come into my courtroom and to come into my judicial system with a lie as big as Billy be damned. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I kind of went along with that judge's decision on denying that motion to dismiss, and now we're headed for a jury trial, And Brother Mike's going to have his witnesses there. Brother Mike's already outlining his questioning of the police officer, who will also be there to represent, himself. And let me tell you, folks, when I get this guy in the stand, all I got to do is get him to take the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination one time, and my case is golden. It's golden anyway. No jury is ever going to convict me. But that's going to open up the way for a civil lawsuit. And now, let me tell you, when you got a problem like police brutality, police running around like vigilantes, attacking citizens, attacking senior citizens because they don't like what they say about the police department, you got a very big problem in your society, But guess what? That's the fruit of the problem. If you got a fruit tree that don't bear good fruit, you can go out there every year and pick that fruit off of that tree, and it's just going to come back the next year. Your whole self is going to be devoted to quashing these renegade police officers who keep popping up and popping up and popping up until you take care of the problem at the root. You got to lay an axe to the root of this tree if you're going to destroy the fruit. All right? And what's at the root of this tree is poor training of these police officers, so that they end up, not even knowing what they're doing out there, and rather than basing their job performance on the law like they should be doing, they're just basing it on what they think is right in their own mind, and guess what? Everybody believes they're right in their own mind, That's one of your root problems, is these people don't get the proper training that they need, Now there's another root problem out there, which is supervision. They don't get the proper supervision. How do you, as a police officer, think that you can roll up to a crime scene and beat somebody down with two of your brother police officers right there, and a whole neighborhood full of people looking at you, and file a false report, and illegally incarcerate somebody, and unlawfully arrest somebody, if you're being supervised properly, Now we know in my particular case, when they filed the report, they didn't even sign the report. The police officer and the reviewing officer didn't even sign the report. Sign off on it. Validate it. Well, I try to get that as a means of dismissing the case, but what they did is they produced a summary of the report that was signed, and this has been accepted by the court. I still don't believe that summary is valid, because it's based on an invalid document. It's a summary of an invalid document that hasn't been signed. I don't care if they signed the summary or not, But I think there's some kind of provincial, thing going on around here where, the court would like to be on the side of the police, you know what I mean? And, nobody in that end of the political and law world, wants to see something like this happening. They'd like to see if they can make it go away if they possibly can. But, in this case, it's not going to go away, because the ultimate issue is, do we need nutcase cops with guns and run around with deadly force, going to people's houses in certain neighborhoods and abusing them? Somebody's got to stand up, you know what I mean? Somebody's got to say this is enough, And when he did that to me, he ran into that somebody, So I'd be more than happy to sacrifice myself, which I have done already. I could be walking around scot-free. I could have my civil case already underway, But I want to get that guy on the stand. I want to expose this issue, and I'd love to see him on the stand having to take the Fifth Amendment, knowing that he's got himself in a whole pot of boiling water here, and the only way out is for him to just keep his mouth shut. Because, when he answers some of these questions in the sequence of questioning that I intend to put him under, it's going to lead to the inevitable conclusion that he is a liar, and that he filed that false report, that he falsely arrested me, that he brutalized a senior citizen, and that he abused his authority. You know what I mean? And that should be becoming very real to him as this whole thing unfolds. So that's kind of where we are right now, and we got a brand new year here. Year of our Lord 2014. It's a very significant year. We've got some things that are going to be happening in the cosmos. There's going to be 2 blood moons this year, and there's going to be a total solar eclipse. And if you know anything about the Bible and the book of Revelations and the second coming of Christ, you're going to be amazed if you just learn a little bit more about the significance of these blood moons. There's going to be 4 of them. There's going to be 2 of them happening in 2014, one on Passover, the other one on the Feast of the Tabernacle. Then there's going to be a total solar eclipse, and in the year 2015 there's going to be 2 more blood moons. So we're talking about 4 blood moons sandwiching a total solar eclipse. And I'll have you know that in the last 500 years, this is only the 4th time that this celestial occurrence has happened, and it's a very significant event in terms of God's plan for humanity. So if I piqued your interest at all, you can, again, go to Google and just put in blood moons, and you're going to be rocked at what you find, you know? Well, I want to thank you for listening, and once again, this is Brother Mike. I want to wish all you folks the best this year, and thank you for hanging in there with me during this broadcast, and may God richly bless you.